Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, I'm just gonna say it now. Make sure you subscribe below, hit that big red subscribe button so you can join me and all the videos that I have coming for you. I'm very excited for today's, I was about to say photo, but video, because it's a topic that I'm very passionate about. It's something that if I can help other people do what I did, I'm like more than excited to help you with that. So without further ado, we're just gonna hop right into the video. I put out on Instagram, I mean, if you don't know my story, I used to be a 5th grade teacher. I quit my job and I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. I hope you don't hear that outside. I hope you can hear me. Anyways, I used to be a 5th grade teacher, hated my job, hated my life, dreaded every day of it. I needed a change, and I knew that I wanted SoulCycle to be that change, but as most of you probably know my SoulCycle journey and story, it was not easy. And it did not work out the way I thought it was going to when I quit my job. But we're just gonna hop right into it. So I asked people to just pretty much ask me the questions that they have. I actually share about leaving my job in my very first YouTube video. So I'll link that below. Make sure you go check that out. I'm talking about all the steps that I feel someone needs to take in order to quit their job. So if this doesn't answer it, I would definitely go watch that video because it's like a half-hour long, but I walk through everything, how to quit your job and like follow your passion. I'm just gonna like hop right into it. I have no specific order that I'm gonna answer these in. Let's just have at it. I quit my job the summer of 2016. No. What year is it? 17. Oh dear God. 17. Oh, at the end of the school year. So June of 2017, I left my job. I put in a leave of absence. So we're gonna get all into that. Okay, so number one question, tips for being financially ready to make that change. So the money is, I think, one of the biggest questions, and I'm probably gonna touch on this in a few different questions, but financially, I was living at home at the time, so that definitely helped me because I didn't have rent, I didn't have all these extra bills, and not everybody has that luxury, but I can only speak from my personal experiences and what happened to me. So I lived at home, so I definitely had money saved up from being a full-time teacher and from Instagram. And talking about finances, my Instagram helped me quit my job, if that makes sense. So pretty much I knew that I could make a couple $1,000s every few months on Instagram that would hold me over if need be. So everybody doesn't have that luxury, but I think you need to make sure you do have some sort of money set aside for the unknown amount of time that you may not have a job. But I personally think that if you wanna make it work, you don't wanna have your job anymore, you will do anything to make sure you're somehow making money in the meantime. You know what I mean? It's all about how hard you're gonna work. Okay, another question, this is a big one. How do you not let other people's ideas of what you should do, like your parents, hold you back from attacking your goals and dreams? I get sucked into the idea of doing a job I don't love just because I need to make money for student loans, and I tell myself I can't chase my dreams until I'm financially set. So here's my thought. Yes, I had money at the time when I quit my job. Yes, I had the ability to continue making money when I quit my job. That worked for me. But there are plenty of people who don't have an Instagram making them money, who aren't living at home. But here's the thing, if you are willing to give up your job for your happiness, I think you will do anything to make it work. Does that make sense? Like if you're actually committed to it, if you're actually unhappy and you are ready to make a change, you will make it work. And I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit of how I made that work for me, even when I was rejected from SoulCycle and I thought that that's literally what my job was gonna be at the end of the summer. So with that being said, I think you need to surround yourself with people who will support you. It was a big deal when I told my parents, when I told my sister what I was gonna do, what my plan was, and I had to code them. I talk about this in my very first YouTube video, but this is just a little refresher. I talk about how I knew I had to have a solid plan, and when I sat down with them, I'm like, look, I'm leaving my job, I am not happy. They knew, the people who are close to you should know that you're miserable. So they knew, and they just wanted to make sure that I would somehow be making money, I would somehow figure out my insurance situation, and they ended up wanting my happiness. So I think it's just like, what I'm doing is not conventional at all. The job that I have, quitting my secure job as a teacher, everyone's like, oh, you're a teacher, that's so fabulous. Like, you're such a great person. I'm like, yeah, well, I get paid shit for it, and kids drive me insane sometimes, and teachers don't get paid enough, period. But I think not letting what people, like, who cares? Why should someone care what you're doing if you're ultimately gonna be a happier person? Like, even if it's your parents, even if they don't agree, prove to them why they should understand where you're coming from. Prove to them why your happiness is more important than a paycheck, and then make it work. Okay, so this is a teacher-specific question, because I do have a lot of teachers who I think follow me and who are like, oh my God, I wish I could leave my job, but like, you know. So how did you know teaching wasn't for you anymore? Also, so there's two questions to this. How did you get the confidence to quit your job without something else lined up? So, how did I know teaching wasn't for me? I dreaded it literally every day. Every Sunday, I would ruin my day being like, oh my God, I have to get back to work tomorrow. I was never motivated to make my lesson plans. I just honestly wanted to do the bare minimum of that job. And while I love the kids, I love the relationships, I love the banter with the kids, I hated all the meetings with the adults. Not that I'm not an adult, but you know what I mean. I was younger, one of the younger people teaching, and all the things that they wanted us to do and all that. And I was like, this is just extra bullshit. Like, why are you making our lives so much harder? Like, learning when I was a kid was fun. And it just felt like sometimes you couldn't make it fun for kids without breaking the freaking rules sometimes. And it was like every week there was something new that you were required to do. And I was like, this is so not fun. And I knew when I graduated college that I pretty much didn't want to be a classroom teacher anymore. Like, I was like more thinking like, oh, I want to be a PE teacher. Like, I was like getting more excited about fitness and all this stuff, but PE is even more competitive than classroom. So I subbed, and I just was never happy. I dreaded it. And I was like, how can I get out? And that's how I knew it wasn't for me. And my sister is a teacher, and she loves her life. She's like, this is what I'll do for the rest of my life. And that's also something that I knew. Like, I would talk to people who enjoy their jobs. Like, I would talk to my boyfriend, I'd be like, do you dread going to work? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh my God, like, I need to get out of this. That's how I knew. And then the confidence to quit. You know, when I quit my job, I was so ready to become a soul cycle instructor. I was in the Soul Recruit program that spring that I quit my job. And at the end of the school year, I quit thinking, oh, the training starts in September. I'll audition this summer. I'll get in because I'm a recruit, duh. And then, you know, things will take care of itself. And it's like, I pretty much just had the summer off like I was a teacher, and then I started working again. That's not the case. That's not what happened. The confidence to quit was just because I really thought that's what was next for me. And yes, it still was, but it just took me a little bit longer to get there. And the confidence was, I felt good. I felt good about the decision. I felt like this weight had been lifted off me, and that's how I had the confidence when I finally was like, you know what, I'm leaving. I'm putting in my leave of absence that I'm not returning next year, and I'm just gonna go from there. And I don't know how I got the confidence. I think it's because I knew that Soul Cycle, I hoped that Soul Cycle would work out. And if it didn't, I knew that I had to be prepared to figure my shit out. And also being on a leave of absence helped, and obviously not everybody can do this, but being on a leave of absence made it so if I didn't figure out things in a year, that I could go back to teaching if I had to. Ugh. So glad that didn't happen. Here's a question about the fitness world. So, how did you not get discouraged by everyone else that also wants a fitness career, all the competition, and without experience in the field, how did you become a coach and learn to motivate others? Well, motivating others, I think, just comes to me naturally. I know that sounds like really lame and like conceited almost, but I was a teacher. So like, I already know how to lead people. I already know how to be in front of a group of people, teach them things, you know, all that good stuff. I was a basketball coach. I was, you know, it's just like part of my background. Like, being able to motivate and lead people is kind of who I am. I've always been kind of a leader in that sense. So that was a very natural path for me. But like, you know, I didn't think about like how everybody wants a job in fitness. Like, yes, fitness is growing. It's so popular. It's so in. It's, you know, and being a Soul Cycle instructor is insanely competitive. But I didn't get discouraged. I mean, obviously I got discouraged when I didn't get in, and there are gonna be so many failures along the way for most people who decide to quit their job, because it's very rare for somebody who makes a gigantic life decision like that and then everything works out for them perfectly and goes exactly the way they want. They're making so much money and all this stuff. Like, that's really not realistic. So like, I think people need to go into it knowing like, this is gonna be hard work. I'm going to fail, it's gonna suck. I'm gonna lose a lot of money, but I'm gonna be happier. There's gonna be a bigger payoff in the end. And I just, to be honest, like with that question, I'm not answering it that well because I wasn't super worried about what everyone else was doing. Like, no, I'm going back, I'm doing this, and I'm making this my job. And I feel like if you're determined enough and you work hard enough, like, you will make shit happen for yourself. I don't know if that answers that question at all. Someone said, how do you know what your true calling was? Like, how did you decide, like, that's not for you, but this is? I kind of just covered it, but like, I mean, I fell in love with SoulCycle and I knew that's where I belonged. And I knew that I belonged in a fitness world. I knew that I belonged motivating others. I knew that I belonged in a group workout setting, which was literally like teaching, but not in a classroom, in a workout setting. And I knew like that's the path that I wanted to take. And I feel like my calling has always been to like lead people, to, you know, motivate people, to make them feel better, to inspire, kind of, you know, whatever. And I don't know, I've always like thrived off that, like being a captain of my team and like, you know, all that stuff. So I feel like my true calling has always been that. I feel like being an athlete my whole life helped me realize my strengths. And I think just like talking to other people really made me realize like, oh, like this is what I enjoy, this is what I like, this is what brings me happiness. Why not make a career out of it? So, I mean, how I knew what my true calling was, I wasn't miserable when I thought about it. I was happy when I thought about it, and it excited me, and it still excites me. So I think that's how you know, when you get that feeling, you know? I don't know if you know, I don't know. What were your biggest hesitations to leaving teaching, and how did you overcome them to make the jump? My biggest hesitations, 100%, were money. What am I gonna do? My parents were very concerned about me keeping insurance because, you know, you need that. But a lot of people don't have it, and a lot of people who quit their jobs don't have insurance for a while. I have a very rare situation that I took a leave of absence. I did not quit right away. I took a leave so I could continue my teaching benefits through the next year. I just had to pay out of pocket. So I would pay an ungodly amount of money every month to keep my insurance. And then I retired this past year. So I'm a retired teacher, everybody. So when I did that, you can actually continue for 18 more months on your insurance, just paying out of pocket. So I'm still currently doing that until I switch over to SoulCycle's benefits, hopefully in January. My biggest hesitations were that, for sure, was like, am I gonna make enough money? And then it was just like, I don't know, like by the end, I was so checked out of teaching. I was so ready to be like, this place, like whatever, you know, and not like the kids or like or anything like that. I was just like, this is not a job for me. I do not get, and kids deserve somebody who wants to be here. And while I love them and had great relationships, like that's just not, it just wasn't, it didn't make me happy. Like, why would I waste, I kept saying to my parents, why am I wasting my time, my life, doing something that does not make me happy when I'm still so young and have the ability to change what I'm doing? Sometimes I think I don't give myself enough credit when it comes to how inspiring that can be. I'm not like tooting my own horn, but like, it's crazy to think, like I used to always say to them, I used to always say to my boyfriend, like, I don't wanna just be living day to day, like blah, 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 collecting my paycheck and just living like a blah life. Like I wanna love what I do. And it's just, I think I just spoke that into existence and I made it happen for myself. Like it's crazy sometimes when I'm like, oh my God, there are so many people who wish that they could quit their job, but they're always like afraid of this, this, and this. Like, stop being afraid, suck it up, do it, make it work, and then you'll be so much happier. Like, it's like, I guess in my head, I'm like, it's not that hard. It is hard, but it's like, it's hard for a reason, you know? So yeah, the money was definitely like my biggest hesitation for sure. When I finally made the jump, it was when I was very serious about SoulCycle. I was like, no, I'm getting in, I'm in the recruit program, this is gonna be great. And you know what? Then I didn't get in the summer, and it felt like my life was over, and I was panicked, and I was like, literally so upset, not only at the fact that I didn't get it, but so upset at the fact that, oh my God, I am not going back to teaching next year. So that was in August. So I pretty much had 10 months until I had to figure out my shit. So then I auditioned the next time because I was like, I am not going back to teaching next year. And I feel like if you have that mentality of you're not gonna do something, you're gonna work 10 times harder to make the thing you want actually happen. Another teacher question. So what time of year did you quit? Was it the middle of the school year? How you handled losing benefits? I've really already covered the benefits. I kept them. I just paid a shitload of money to keep them, where most teachers is just taking out their paycheck and it's barely anything. That's fine. Time of year, I actually waited until the end of the school year. So I taught the 2016-2017 school year, and I taught, I don't know, I think like in May or something, like I had to like submit that I wanted to go on a leave the next year, and I took personal leave, obviously, and I just said seeking other career options because I mean, I had to finish the school year, and that's just the timing that things worked out with SoulCycle anyway. And second to last week of school, or maybe it was even the last week of school, I don't even know. I went and told my principal, not that like I had to owe them anything, but like I needed them to know that I wasn't coming back the next year, even though my school district knew. I did it at the very end of the school year, finished on the school year with my kids, packed up my classroom, and was like, peace out, see ya never. So that was, oh, that was so fun. That was such a good feeling. You'd be surprised how many teachers leave in the middle of the school year. Like, it is possible if you want to make it happen. How did you fill your time in between quitting teaching and starting working in fitness? So I fill my time with Instagram. That's pretty much what I was doing. I had a lot of lazy days. I slept in, I didn't do much, you know, I could have been more productive. But I was riding a lot, and yeah, it was like fun. It was kind of like lazy, like unemployed, fun employed life. And during that time, I was just mainly focused on Instagram between like August and November. I wasn't really doing a ton. And then I auditioned literally this time last year. And then I found out like 2 or 3 weeks later. So I found out like mid-December that I got into the training program, and it started in February. So pretty much from like June to February, I was just like unemployed, like doing Instagram deals, just doing my own thing. And it was like fun, but I was ready to have some structure back in my life for sure. Curious about how aggressively you were into this as your side hustle before you felt like you could take the leap. So I mean, I was heavily doing Instagram. I have been for however many years now. And I knew that I could be making, like I said, money off of brand deals every month. So yes, Instagram, I've said it like 10 times in this video, Instagram definitely gave me a little security knowing like, oh, I have a way that I can make money on the side. Make sure that you have a smart plan, because I was very planned out when I finally quit my job. When you were faced with quitting your job and starting over in a sense, especially in your mid-20s, after working so hard for something, what are the practical steps to doing that? So I think everyone needs to get rid of the idea of, I mean, for a second, like I thought about it, but I remember it was my boyfriend's mom who actually was like really helpful with it. She was like, look, you have your college degree, you have that piece of paper, that's what you need. You know what I mean? And she was like, think about how many people are not working in what their major was, what their degree is in. My degree's in elementary education. I teach SoulCycle. My friend's degree is in kinesiology, and now she's gonna be a nurse, which I know like they kind of go together. My other friend, hers is in physical therapy, and she works at the Pentagon. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, sometimes like stuff just happens and you end up where you end up. My one friend, her degree is like in criminology, and she's like gonna be a teacher now because she was like, screw that, I don't wanna do that, you know? So it's just like, I think we need to stop getting so hung up in like, oh, I spent so much money doing this, or like my parents invested, because my parents helped me through college. And you know, it's like, oh, I spent so much money doing that. I spent so much time, like 4 years of my life, 5 years, 8 years, whatever, you know. And now I want to do something totally different. Like that's just like such a waste. It's not a waste. You got your degree, you got your education. That's very important. You can always fall back on that. So don't feel bad or don't feel guilty for, you know, working so hard and then wanting to do something else. You know what? I think it's great. I think it happened to me at a really good time in my life because I was still young enough that I can make the change. And not saying that when you're older you can't, but it's definitely easier when you're not tied down to like needing to support a family or you know, things like that. I think that it's great to start, as soon as you realize I need to change, I think people need to like wake up and just do it so you can live a happier, more passionate life. I mean, I just think about how everyone's like, I love how like positive you are, and how I haven't always been that way. Also, not always that way anyway, but people are always just saying like, oh, you're so positive, you love your job so much. I'm like, I do, I truly do. And it's because I was brave enough to make that change, to not give a fuck what anybody else thought, and to do what I wanted to do, which was like really liberating and felt really good. Practical steps to doing that are analyzing your happiness over maybe a paycheck or something like that, and then making a plan. I can't stress enough that you do need to have a plan. You can't just up and quit your job and expect everything to fall into place, because it's not it. You have to work really, really hard at it. How did you just up and go if you have financial obligations, blah, blah, bills, bills, bills? As I said, you will find a way to make it work. You have no option. It's like survival mode, you know? You gotta do it. You have to do it, period. I'd love to know what helped you through the failure stages as you went along. Was it books, advice you heard, reaching out to people who were successful at what you wanted to do? I think we all know that big moves mean a couple hiccups here and there, but we rarely realize that it's 100 plus obstacles, big and small, that get in our path. What helped you get through all of them? That's such a good question. Failure. I mean, I failed, obviously. Didn't get into the program when I thought that I was going to, and that was heartbreaking. But I think even before I quit my job, I talk about her in my other video too. Her name's Jess Sims. She's now a Peloton trainer. She's fabulous. We have very similar backgrounds, and I would go to her if I was stressed, because she used to be a teacher, basketball player, all that good stuff, left to go into the fitness world. And she was like such a great mentor for me, and she always just was blunt, laid stuff out, and like told it how it is, and was so helpful to me. So yes, I definitely went to people who were in the career pathway that I wanted to be in, who were successful, who had been where I'd been, and who would be honest with me. So I definitely did that. You know, when I failed, it just switched my mindset, and it just like lit a fire under me even more to work harder, because I was like, I don't want to go back to teaching. How am I gonna make this work? And that's when I, you know, reached out to Kathleen, and I was like, I want to work with you. I want to figure this out. I want to get into a SoulCycle training program. And I did that. Like, it was like, you have to start creating things. You have to start making things happen for yourself. And it's not always easy. It's not easy. And I was working hard, and I felt lost, and I felt confused, but it was just like the determination of like, this is my end goal. There are two end goals: get into the SoulCycle training program, not go back to teaching. How am I gonna make those two things happen? And that was it. Like, it's just like, sometimes I just feel like there's not this secret sauce, there's not this special tip. It is like, work your ass off, know what you want, and go after it. That's the title of this video. I'm just kidding. I have so many hesitations about quitting without a reason or a new job to go to. It makes me feel like a failure, and it makes me feel a lot of shame. How did you deal with those feelings? I don't know what to tell my boss, and I feel stuck, but I also don't want to burn any bridges. Like, should I lie? All this stuff. So I think, like I said before, you gotta get over the guilt. You should not feel guilty for wanting to live a happier life. You should not feel guilty for wanting to do what you wanna do. You like, nobody else is living your life for you. You know what I mean? Like, someone else, like my sister, may love teaching. Great for her. And I feel guilty because I don't feel that same way. No, I shouldn't. She probably wouldn't feel the same way if she was a SoulCycle instructor, you know? So I was straight up with my boss. I was like, this is why I want to leave. I want another job. I have a really great opportunity. I kind of presented it like, I don't think you should lie. I think you should own it. And I think anybody in a job who cares about their job should want to make sure that they have employees that also care about their job. What principal or, you know, school system wants to have teachers who don't want to be there? You know, I'm sure there's plenty everywhere across the world. But how amazing would it be if you had a school full of teachers who went above and beyond, all of them? Same with any job. So it's like, you shouldn't lie. You should just be like, no, like, this is gonna make me happier. Like, don't, like, who cares? Literally, who cares? Because a year from now, I bet you I haven't crossed my principal's mind in a year and a half, whenever I quit. You know what I mean? Does she think about me? I don't know. Whatever. Like, who cares? Because look what I'm living my best life, and I could care less if they were worried about me quitting my job. You just gotta look out for you. Stop giving a shit what other people think. If they have an opinion or if they, you know, don't think you should be doing it, screw it. Screw it. Life is too damn short to be unhappy, to be doing shit that you don't want to do, that you're not passionate about. I firmly believe that. Don't feel like a failure. You're not a failure. The fact that you're already thinking about doing something different makes you not a failure, because you're ready to take damn control of your life. I'm like, this is my shit. This is my motivational moment. I'm so excited. So I guess this is like a good question to end on. What are your next goals now that you're in a job that you love? I think just my biggest goals now are just to continue to grow in SoulCycle and in the fitness community and in the blogging community. So I think my next few goals are just continue to work at SoulCycle, reach my 1 year when it comes in April, go from there. I mean, obviously I would love to be a senior instructor one day. I think everybody thinks that when they, you know, become SoulCycle instructor. And not that it's anything, it's just like knowing that you made it that far is, I think, really cool. So that's definitely a goal of mine, to stay with this for a long time. And I think I'm just really gonna start diving more into social media as well, and not have like a pity party about some of my engagement or some of my following anymore, and just like really nail down how I can continue to keep it real and motivate people, whoever is willing to listen, you know, and start creating things for people to use, tools to use, things to buy, and, you know, just really creating more of a community. So I think my next goals are just continue loving what I do and diving further into both of them. I mean, like, I had a lot of the same questions, like finances, how did you deal with that? How did you find your passion? How did you finally make the leap? All that good stuff. In the end, if you wanna quit your job, if you wanna be happier, if you wanna follow your passion, follow your dreams, all that good stuff, you can do it. It's just, how hard are you willing to work? How hard are you willing to fight for it? What are you willing to give up or go through in order to make that happen and end up on the other side? It's going to take time. It's going to take obstacles. It's going to take failure. It's going to take stress. But when you finally get there, I think it's going to be worth it, because it has been for me. And if I can motivate anybody in this video to quit their job, to actually go after what they want to do, even if it's unconventional, even if it's crazy, but it's something that you can't stop thinking about, because that's how it was for me. And you, like, I want you to just do it. Put in your 2 weeks right now. Just go do it. Just go do it. Things will fall into place if you're willing to make a plan, make it work, no matter what. I think that's it. Wow, I feel like I'm never like so like on my YouTube, but that was fun. I liked it. So make sure, if you guys haven't subscribed already, just hit that big red subscribe button below. I would really appreciate it. If you don't follow me on Instagram, my handle is just CalFitLife. We like to have a good time over there too, so make sure you hit that follow over there as well. And I'll see you guys for the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Quit your job, follow your damn passion, live your life, your best life. I kind of hated that, but it's fine.